The retail industry at large is evolving rapidly, driven by millennials and Gen Z consumers and their new shopping behaviors. Now, these shoppers prioritize value, convenience, and personalized experiences over brand loyalty. And of course, this behavior is often shaped by social media trends, influencer recommendation, and real time product transparency. This shift has resulted in intensified competition and fluctuating demand in grocery retail through pricing, differentiation, and innovation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dialani. Now, to remain competitive, grocery retailers need to become more perceptive, an approach that integrates real time insights, AI driven decision making, and adaptive merchandising strategies to understand customer needs and deliver accordingly. Now, retail, in particular e commerce, has been the poster child for agentic AI and is a sector where there is a lot of hype but also some very compelling use cases. So, let's welcome Vamsi, Head of Product and Engineering at MathCo, to understand what's happening in this space and what we can expect to see in the future. Hi Vamsi, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you, Priya.
Great. It's a pleasure to have you with us on a podcast today, Vamsi. And definitely we are, exploring a very different chapter in terms of a podcast today where we're talking about agentic AI, specifically in the retail sector. So, of course, I'm definitely excited to learn more about it from you. But before that, we would like to know more about MathCo, a very interesting name, I must say. So, if you could help us understand more about the company, its specialization, any particular solution the company is offering.
So, personally, for me, MathCo is an extremely special organization. But for the rest of the world, just giving a brief intro of what we do at MathCo. MathCo is a leader in data-driven decision making, and we provide end-to-end solutions across the entire data journey, all the way from collecting all the data, pipelining it, and the data engineering aspect of ensuring that all data is cleaned up, building custom solutions on top of it, whether that solution is an ad hoc solution or repetitive products that clients require. And our motto has always been to ensure that most customers are self-sufficient. Like once we build these solutions, they should be able to work on this without the help of anyone else. Besides this, what sets us apart is our ability to build not just the solution for customers, but build their capability. For example, helping organizations take control of their own data, insights, and outcomes. What we have done brilliantly over the last 24 months is with our enhanced generative AI capabilities, we are helping clients take a leap from static insights, to more real-time and autonomous decision-making through agentic AI. And what this allows them to do is, today's world isn't a series of decisions, but it's a series of thousands of micro decisions. Ensuring that these micro decisions can be taken in near real time is where agentic AI is playing a big role. And the fact that we started 24 months back gives us the edge to provide really, really good solutions to our customers and help them in this area. And finally, as an organization, we're building systems that help enterprises solve their own problems intelligently. And that has been our philosophy, is like ensure that intelligence is provided to clients to take real world decisions. And that's what we are doing with so many customers at MathCo.
Great. Thank you for that insightful overview. And it's quite interesting to hear how organizations like yours are positioning themselves at the intersection of innovation and impact. And I very much like your thought that you're not just building solution, but you're helping your clients build the capabilities. It's about addressing real world challenges with a very thoughtful and a purpose driven approach. And I think that will definitely make our conversation ahead all the more exciting. Moving ahead, Vamsi, you have expertise that spans commercial leadership, strategy development and execution, new product and service innovation, and of course, end-to-end digital transformation. So we would also like to know more about you. If you could help us understand, how has the journey been till date? What exactly is your role at MathCo, and what are certain contribution towards the company till date?
So I've built products all my life, and MathCo is my first stint at services. And MathCo is not a services company anymore. It does a lot of other things as well. When I started with MathCo about 3 years ago, I took it up because it's a very interesting pivot for me personally. And I'm one of those people who has focused entirely on execution. And for me, an idea remains a theoretical concept unless someone actually implements it and then ensures its adoption is successful, leading to value for customers. So I had execution for all products and engineering at MathCo. And the reason I'm doing products and engineering at MathCo is the two vision statements I had is one, a lot of customers are tied to product companies having to pay license fees, using those companies, the data models, and being limited in how quickly they can customize across the board. Our vision at MathCo is to build products which are very specific for the business process of our customers and ensure that they solve exactly the problems that need to be solved. And the customers own the IP and are able to expand it out at scale. That's where what we do at the custom product division in MathCo. We build processes, we build solutions across the board which help clients be self-sufficient. Engineering is a very interesting space. Like as even with agentic AI, the ability to become agnostic and take decisions which aren't rule based requires that the foundational layer be solid, that the semantic layer is built in a manner that the data is very clearly telling the story so that we have agents who are then able to take decisions. So bringing all this together and creating a unified layer with a solid semantic layer on top is what we are doing at engineering. And it's been the past 12 months have been wonderful stories because we've solved what was seemingly impossible problems for some of our customers. A lot of people come and tell me, Vamsi, if I had to define why should we choose MathCo, my answer would be if it's a problem that you want done perpetually and scaling properly. And if it's a problem that is difficult, then come to MathCo because we will build it out for you in a manner that you can ensure that this doesn't repeat across the board. So that's what we do at MathCo. That's what I specifically focus on here in the organization.
Definitely. I think it's always fascinating to hear the journey behind the title and how a role evolves over time and how your unique contributions are helping shape the company's direction. So thank you for sharing that with us, Vamsi. Now let's dive deeper into, our core focus for today. I think this is an unprecedented time for the retail industry. Agentic AI for retail gives businesses the opportunity to transform every aspect of their operation by embracing change and innovation. Now, the newest front, I think, in the fast changing world of AI is agentic AI and the use of, autonomous AI agents. So, unlike predictive and generative AI, which let retailers query data to forecast trends and make data driven decisions, I think agentic AI kind of takes things to a new level with autonomous agents coming into the picture. So, I want to understand from you why currently do you think is the retail industry particularly ripe for the disruption through agentic AI?
Excellent. Yeah, this is actually, I'm very excited about agentic AI because I've always been a believer of automated workflows and seeing the new trends in the market, moving away from the rule-based world is something super exciting. Why does it become pertinent in the retail industry? Retail industry is a highly competitive, high volume, thin margins, data rich industry where the customer preferences are changing every second. The customer profiles are changing every second. In addition, what happens is that this area is currently reliant still on a lot of human beings who cannot parallelly process a lot of decisions, look at patterns, etc. And therefore, the decisions aren't real time. And not having real time decisions and the ability to customize customer preferences across the board and take decisions which ensure higher sales, lower wastage across the board is the difference between success and failure. And most of the retailers don't have that luxury anymore, considering how thin their margins are. So the poor decision making or delayed decision making isn't an option for this industry. The best part about all of this retailers across the borders, they have a tech stack where all the data is now collected in systems which are connected. The APIs are already out there. So it's a question of ensuring that we have that connectivity and we are able to parallel process a lot of this data to come up with changing decisions based on the changing environmental patterns across the board. So from that perspective, the greatest value that can be created today in agentic AI, according to me, is in the retail industry.
Definitely, I think that's a very interesting perspective, and it really highlights how, deeply agentic AI could embed itself across the entire retail value chain. And when we talk about AI disruption, I think, most people just focus on how these technologies can, replace manual processes. But I think with agentic AI, it will kind of reimagine the customer journey from start to finish. So I think that's more of a trigger point for the retail industry to adopt these new technologies at the earliest and grow and scale their business and of course the different verticals. Now, when you're talking about technologies, I think retailers traditionally relied on sales data analysis, promotion tracking, to estimate the halo and the cannibalization effects. Now, for example, a basket analysis and
Mhm,
transactional data is the analysis of point of sale data to identify frequently purchased products. However,
mhm.
with this method, insights are only available post sales. So it is
Correct.
kind of limiting your dynamic pricing or your shelf adjustments in real time. And it also fails to capture the demand shifts from social media trend, I think, which is one of the latest tools that all of the retailers are using. So how are retail companies currently approaching analytics? I mean, what's working and what's still missing?
Okay. Now, this is also a very interesting question. What most retail companies have achieved is a solid level of descriptive and diagnostic analytics. Problems like sales forecasting, like what you just mentioned, the basket analysis, conversion, inventory, and customer segmentation is being done fairly well across most of the retailers across the board. There is some level of personalization that happens, customer personalization that happens either in a daily or a weekly level. And some algorithmic decision making is happening in retail media networks. So if you go to any retailer's websites, right, you will find the brand preferences coming up. And sometimes those brand preferences are the brands that you prefer. So there is some targeting that is happening across the board. And this most people are doing. Most solid retailers are doing this stuff. What they are not able to do. This is still information, This is still throwing information out there and hoping that it hits. It's not insights. And it's definitely not real-time decision making or personalization. For example, I could have had a conversation last night which has changed my preference, and that can be understood in some of the browsing patterns or some of my things, some of the decisions that I'm taking or conversations I'm having across the board. That is not reflective because it's still based on what I felt the day before yesterday. The other thing that is also happening today is data is in very specific domains, like there's sales data, there's customer data, there's marketing data, and there's financial data. And a lot of these are sitting in silos, and they are sitting in silos primarily to allow each of these departments to take decisions quickly. They're not centralized, and that is a disadvantage in today's world. And there is also, because they are not centralized, a high reliance on human analytical capabilities, And the moment you do that, the pace of decision making reduces across the board. And more importantly, because the pace reduces, you will find a lot more rule based decision making that is happening even today. Like this is essentially what is the real time decision making, the hyper personalization. That is definitely not happening today. And that is an area, of what's working in the retail industry and what definitely isn't, where we are not yet.
Well, I think that's a fascinating area to explore about, because I think retail today is no longer just about shelves and sales. It's
Yeah.
about, signals and patterns and predictive
Yes.
analytics. And I think analytics is definitely at the heart of this transformation. And like you said, I think, while companies are swimming in data, the real challenge actually lies in connecting it all, connecting all
Yes.
the different data that you have, which are sitting in silos, and, turning these fragmented data sets into more unified and actionable intelligence. So, I think as the landscape is evolving, where the next leap might be come from once these companies start adopting, hyper personalization strategies and ensuring that they are actually connecting with the customers and making use of the cutting edge analytics solutions and tools. Moving ahead, when we're talking about agentic AI, I think a lot of us learned about agentic AI, with Open AI's Chat GPT, because it sparked an AI revolution. And just
Mhm.
2 years later, another form of artificial is changing the way businesses interact with customers. That is agentic AI. Now, it takes
Correct.
the features of generative AI and chatbots a step further by completing actions independently, because they can perform concrete tasks like messaging a prospect or searching for leads all on their own. So when it comes to optimizing and maximizing the customer journey, AI agents definitely have the potential to impact every step, starting from awareness to the end of the funnel, that is advocacy. So what role does agentic AI play when we talk about retailers having an omni-channel presence and, of course, the customer journey orchestration?
Great. There's also another incredible question, but I'll answer this question not through theory, but taking an example of a brand that I have a lot of admiration for, not specifically a retailer of the grocery side, but let's talk about Sephora. When you look at a brand like Sephora, everybody is going around where you can virtually try on certain products, etc. And it is able to give you some baseline recommendations based on the trial, skin tone, what are your preferences, etc. What Sephora has done brilliantly is they have unified their entire data stack. So all of the data, that unified layer is absolutely available in a singular place. And they've semantic layer is incredible across. Now, because of this, the journey that Sephora is on today is able to tell you, try everything virtually and identify if you are on your way to the store, and then potentially tell you what are the things, preferences, send a message back to the store to say, hey, have a makeup artist ready for this. The customer is coming in and this customer wants to try this. So your in-store experience is absolutely phenomenal. No? You walk into a store, someone's already ready there with the products that you prefer, and then you're trying things out. Just imagine the experience that a customer would have that based on their browsing history preferences that they've done on a digital channel, their in-store experience is changing across the board. In addition, let's assume that once you finish your in-store experience, the product that you've selected isn't available. Imagine that goes back into into your digital channel and says it's going to reach you by the time you reach home tonight after work. That seamless transition from that digital world to the in-store experience back into ensuring the product reaches you in time, that is something that is the power of having a unified tech stack across the board. And Sephora has done that brilliantly, Now, why did I take this example? Just like MathCo, Sephora has started working on this about 24 months ago, which gives them the edge today in being a leader in providing this kind of genuinely true omni-channel experience for an end customer. And that is why, if you look at it, all of this is possible because they have several micro agents taking a lot of decisions for them across the board. Imagine this: micro agent is identifying whether you're on your way to the store. A micro agent is identifying what is the availability of all the makeup artists in the store and allocating someone to be available by the time you get down there. And another one is looking at the stock inventory for any out of stock products, placing an order for you so that it reaches on the same day, so that by the time you reach home, you have the product available to you. Those kind of decisions, a singular human or multiple human beings taking it and then putting it all, stitching it together to ensure that the omni-channel experience happens is very difficult. And that is where agentic AI is actually changing the world. And brands like Sephora, being a leader in that front, is are setting the baseline, and this is going to be the norm a year from now. And most brands, if you really want to be a leader, need to get there very, very quickly.
Definitely. I think that was a very impressive example, Vamsi, and thank you for sharing that with our listeners. And definitely that gave us more context as to how agentic AI is playing a very important role and how it's taking the omni-channel presence and customer journey into a next level of intelligent and, experiential design. And, I think it's no longer enough for brands to simply be present across multiple channels. I think customers today are expecting every interaction, whether it's on a website or an app, or maybe even a chatbot, or even like an in-store. I think they want to feel more seamless, more personalized, more contextual, and I think that's where agentic AI definitely brings real value. Moving ahead, since we were talking about retail shopping, I think shopping bots are becoming available that are capable of hopping between online retailers and searching for the best prices, deals, and promotions for their users. Now, Salesforce has released its Agent Force platform, which lets retailers build AI agents and that can interact with their systems. Now, agents can also help retailers dynamically price their products and services by tracking the competition. So they could even come up with very new metrics that they could use to set prices more efficiently. Also taking into account factors that human might overlook. So, do you see AI agents as co-pilots or full pilots in business critical retail functions?
Lovely question. Let's take a step back, from the agentic AI. So finally, it's about decision making. It's about processing a multitude of data that is available out there and taking decisions that allow a phenomenal experience for customers. Now, how does that happen? That happens when you have a unified tech stack. And that happens when you have a semantic layer, which is able to ensure that all of your data is structured in such a manner that those decisions can be taken seamlessly across the board. Now, where agents are playing a pilot phase, AI agents are playing a pilot phase, or they're playing a co-pilot phase, completely depends on the maturity of that unified tech stack and the semantic layer across the board. So in places where there is a strong unified layer and agents are absolutely taking the pilot, and I'll give you a couple of examples of those. Those examples are like, if you look at customer hyper personalization, that is an area like the Sephora example that I just gave you. That is an area where in a few retailers who are in the maturity curve advanced maturity curve. They are able to do customer hyper personalization. McDonald's is another example. Workforce planning is automated. Their AI agents are piloting. But most other places, like pricing, promotions, inventory, strategic planning, etc., it's still co-piloting because the data isn't in a singular basis. Now, if I wanted to generalize this and say where are AI agents piloting and where are they co-piloting, decisions that are recurring are low risk, and real-time decision making, micro decision making is absolutely required. The agents are piloting today. In most of the scenarios, they are co-piloting. And that is a trend that I've been observing across the board with various brands. With some brands like McDonald's and the Sephora's that I spoke to you about, starting to take critical functions and allowing agents to pilot, but they're doing it slowly and ensuring that the experience doesn't get spoiled for customers.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and thank you for giving that perspective. And I think definitely, I think what really matters, or what really surfaces a fundamental shift. It's what's your perspective? What I think really matters right now is the idea of trusting AI, not just to optimize, but to own processes that were once only exclusively human driven, I think. And I think agentic AI, for example, in the introduction, I spoke about agentic AI and the role of agentic AI in the retail sector. Now, agentic AI is still a new concept and tool for many marketing teams. Now, if it is done improperly, agentic AI can feel more insensitive, which might hurt brand image and even customer satisfaction. Although it is an intelligence, it is still a computer, and customers may pick up on that as well. So the challenge is finding a balance between leveraging AI and maintaining relationships with customers. So how do you build trust in AI driven decisions, especially at the executive or store operations level?
I mean, as much as this is about take the technology out of it, it's a human psychology question. No? And then when do you trust someone or something? When it creates value, when it doesn't intrude into your private space. So privacy of data becomes a very pertinent issue. Privacy of data and how that data is being used becomes absolutely essential. No? The way I would start with AI, I mean, the agentic AI aspect of things is to start being a co-pilot, and allow things like accuracy or speed or taking faster decisions. And those are the areas that it should help us. It shouldn't completely overcome the data-driven decision making where humans are involved. Let's take the example of the digital payments in India, for example, right? Like 5 years back, everybody was like, hey, my information is going out there, my banks are connected. But then when it became a convenience, when you don't have to carry your wallet, when ensuring that, there is no loss, nobody's hacking into your accounts, there's no privacy of information that is being transmitted, adoption became higher and higher. And today, to an extent where in the urban areas, most people aren't carrying cash anymore. The usage of cash has reduced significantly. It's like the reason I take this specific example is it started small. It started with a very good use case. It started with simple things, with an idea of ensuring that it becomes a convenience factor than a question of eradicating cash as a source of transactions. Similarly, I would say that agentic AI start with co-piloting. Look at the low-hanging fruits, and ensure that you track that low-hanging fruits. What are the low-hanging fruits? Ensuring that personalization is more on point, ensuring that you're saving time across the board, ensuring a better customer experience, ensuring that for retailers, you're saving time in decision making and allowing them to take decisions much, much faster rather than at a cadence now near real time. Those are immediate areas that it can absolutely earn trust. Other thing that I find intriguing is ensuring that it is as close to natural language as possible. It's like I should be able to say, hey, where can I save 30 minutes of my time today without impacting the criticality of the work that I do? If I'm able to get some suggestions on something as simple to that, which is on point, would get me trust, right? Would allow me to look at agentic AI and say, hey, yeah, I can trust this. This is so much faster and easier for me, and it's trying to help me. And very importantly, stakeholder communication. Don't go down and say agentic AI is the answer to all your problems. Very clearly tell stakeholders what is doable and what is not doable, what will evolve in time, and set the right expectations. Start with smaller, easier, higher value propositions. Ensure that people understand the limitations of agentic AI and potential pitfalls if misused. Set that expectation across the board and slowly build the trust. You know, and finally, it's very simple. Human mentality is looking for consistent value. Keep it simple, show consistent value, communicate very well, and therefore create that trust that happens over a period of time. Don't do it overnight. And that would be the way to earn trust.
Well, definitely, I agree with you that it's really important to be consistent and it's really important that you show value. And trust isn't something that can be built overnight, especially when it comes to systems that are making or influencing high stake decisions. So I think today's marketing cycle is painfully slow. Too often, businesses lose time assembling scattered data. They have to design the customer journeys from scratch and they lack the ability to personalize outreach at scale. So there's a better way to do marketing, and it's emerging from new agentic AI technology. So having said that, one last question for you, Vamsi. How do you see or foresee in the next 2, 3 years for agentic AI in retail, or certain trends that you think will shape the future of agentic AI in retail?
It will be an amazing journey. I think we all need to be open to the magic of what will be there out there in these next 2, 3 years. Personally, I'm a strong believer that the only valuable asset in in this world is time. It's the only thing that is limited, and you cannot renegotiate on expanding that area. Therefore, all decisions which are highly personal, real time, and allow you to make precise choices is going to be big value. Specifically, I see agents moving from a co-pilot to pilot stage in the world of operations. Like everywhere today, where a lot of manual tasks are there, rule-based systems are there. It's just the operational world of most retailers. I see AI agents moving from a co-pilot stage to a pilot stage. I see a lot of retailers using multi-agents across the board and following very specific solutions, taking the micro decisions across. I see the world of data becoming a lot more precise and unified semantic layers, allowing real-time decisions happening across the board. I see stores becoming more autonomous or sensor driven. The Amazon Goes will not be an exception anymore. Most people at least have it in urban areas across the board, and that will become the new norm. And customer journeys. This is the part that I'm very interested. How do I get what I'm looking for in the next 5 minutes? This will get very personal for me, and the accuracy of this will be very, very precise. And that decisions that I will take as a customer will be aided by these agents for every single purchase that I see. And finally, what I see as a starting point, say a couple of years down the line, is that we are going to be tracking performance of these agents, and we're going to be starting to look at, hey, how are they performing? What's the ROI that I'm getting across the board? And that is a direction that we should all get used to right now. Today we are asking for proof, then we will ask for value. And that's the shift that will happen with the AI agents over the next 2 to 3 years.
I think that was an amazing conclusion, Vamsi. And I think looking further ahead, I believe agentic AI will be just as integral to retail and e-commerce as previous transformation waves like the mobile internet. It could also even turn out to be a significant step towards the long-term goal of developing generalized AI that can learn how to do just about any task, much like a human, rather than just a task it was created for. So thank you so much, Vamsi, for taking out the time and effort to be on our podcast today. And thank you for helping us understand that agentic AI is set to define the next stage in the evolution of retail and e-commerce. And as consumers reshape retail, integrating AI-driven strategies will help retailers be more agile, responsive, and aligned with shopper expectations. So thank you so much for your time. It was lovely chatting with you.
Thank you very much.
Great. So this is for our listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Stay tuned for our upcoming episode, and you can view all our previous episode on Spotify and other leading platforms. Until next time, thank you.